So the second that kind of happened in the backseat of the car, I was like, oh God, this is going to get worse. Hey guys, welcome back to Canon Cinema. I'm Amanda, otherwise known as AMX ND Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Today I will be reviewing episode 1 of season 2 of Euphoria. Yes, it is back on HBO, one of my favorite HBO shows ever. The entire cast is phenomenal. And actually last week I binge watched season 1 again just to see where everyone kind of rested after season 1. I did watch both of the specials for Jules and Rue, and this first episode, holy Lord, did it kick off with a bang. Before I get into this review of season 2, episode 1 of Euphoria, I do want to put a disclaimer. I will be talking about some difficult subject matters, so if you guys have watched the show, dive in, but this is my disclaimer at the beginning of the video. So the reason why I loved episode 1 is because it highlighted Fez. Now, Fez is one of the most loved characters on this show because of just how chill his presence is, but obviously he does do some side jobs, as we all know, and gets into trouble with other drug dealers just to kind of keep his family afloat and help his grandmother out. And speaking of his Gma, we get a flashback with the grandmother and young Fez and little Ashtray at the beginning of this episode, because this episode really does set up the entire season, and I'll dive into that a bit later. But this opening sequence, when I heard the "Don't Be Cruel" cover, I was obsessed with his grandmother. Just the blonde hair, the suit, walking into the strip club and going straight to Fez's dad and just putting a cap in both of his knees. It was just a sight to see. And again, we started off with a bang, the first bang of the actual episode, because a lot of stuff goes down. So the importance of Fez's backstory is to see how much of a sweetheart he actually is on the inside, and this tough exterior that he needs to keep out, because he truly does love his grandmother, even though he had such a tough upbringing and he literally had to be her partner through all of these drug deals. And the thing that Fez loved the most, as he mentions in the episode, is that his grandmother treated him as an adult instead of a kid, and that's why he learned so much. It is a good thing in a way, not teaching the drug deals to the children, but math is important. How to conduct yourself in a business manner, in a professional way, is important. So Fez kind of had some different life lessons growing up, but it did work out in the end because it made him such a strong person to kind of take up the mantle of like the leader in his family. So to even see the connection between him and Ashtray, I really love that, because again, this entire show, even with like Fez and Rue, you don't necessarily have to have a blood tie to a family member for them to be considered family. And because I'm an only child, I do consider a majority of my friends my family members, and I love that shows highlight that. So to have like a ride or die between Ashtray and Fez was really great to see. Ashtray is a very interesting character, and I can't wait to see more of this kid because of what he does to Mouse at the beginning of this episode. I was absolutely floored, but he was looking out for his big bro. So can we really blame him? Yeah, because there's going to be consequences. And then that's how episode 1, season 2 of Euphoria starts. So again, started off with a bang. Then we see that Fez and Rue and Ashtray are in the car going to another drug deal. Rue was high as a kite. She definitely relapsed. And again, Zendaya gives a phenomenal performance in this episode. But are we really surprised? Because she's just so good. She's so good. She was doing lines of cocaine in the back seat, and she was very hyper. She went to this drug deal. She was forced to stay in the car. This other guy who is at the location has a girl named Faye with him, and she's also forced to sit in the car and stay quiet. So the back seat of the car is more important. What happens between Faye and Rue is more important than what goes on in the house at that point, where they're trying to form this deal with this new character named Lori, who's like the head honcho of this operation now that Mouse is out of the way. So it's kind of like a domino effect of who's connected to who. So that's going on in the house. Rue has her first encounter with heroin, which is never ever good, as we have seen it in other films. We know that heroin is never good. You can go down a very bad path. It is very hard to stop doing it. So the second that kind of happened in the backseat of the car, I was like, oh God, this is gonna get worse. So we have that little piece. Rue doesn't do it yet, but she's very scared and nervous when this girl Faye starts doing heroin in the backseat of the car. Obviously, she stops just in time because the other guys working with Lori take both Rue and Faye into the house, force them to like strip down because they think that they're wearing a wire for this drug deal, yada, yada, yada. All of that high tension. There were some choices that were made that kind of made me uncomfortable. Like the song choice was really uncomfortable. It went on for way too long, but maybe that was the point that Levinson was trying to do. I was like, please make it stop. It's just so weird and I can't do it. But Lori's a great head honcho character. They're talking about like other drug dealers that were women in the car after they get out of there with this like massive suitcase filled with like all of these capsules and bags and just all the drugs are in that luggage. And that sets everything into motion for season 2. We head back to a season 1 vibe of going to a party. It's a house party. It's New Year's Eve. We see everyone back. We see Kat. We see Maddie. We see Nate, we see Cassie, we see Lexi. They're all there. The gang's all back together again. And of course, there is drama because Jules does make her way back to the party. And this time, Jules and Kat are kind of together and they have like a whole friendship, which I didn't really expect. It's a very odd choice, but that's not the weirdest thing that happens. So Lexi is at this party. She cannot get a hold of Cassie because they got into a little fight and she left Cassie at the side of the road. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. She's drinking. Like, why would you leave her? Why would you make her get out? That's also a really odd choice for Lexi because I know Lexi would never leave Cassie. So it's a dumb decision in my opinion. I didn't think that was in character for Lexi. So Cassie went to go buy, I think it was like a Twinkie or something. She's sitting on the curb. Good old Nathaniel comes out of nowhere, buys a 6-pack of beer, gives her one that was already opened. And I was like at the edge of my seat. I said, if this kid roofied my poor girl already at the beginning of this, I don't need anything else happening to her. Please, Nathaniel, just like hop off. I don't want to see you. Cassie made me laugh, this poor girl, because she was sitting there like, I'm going to focus on myself. I don't want to get involved with anyone. Maybe I'm like not a relationship person, but like I didn't mean it in that way. I just need to focus on myself and I don't want to make any more bad decisions. So Nathaniel straight up asks her, hey, do you need a ride to this party? And Cassie stupidly agrees. Cassie gets into this car. I'm stressed. I'm stressed because Nathaniel is drinking. Cassie doesn't care because she feels like she's free and it's a fun adventure. And she's looking at Nate with these eyes. And I'm like, girl, don't do it. Like, this is Maddie's boyfriend, on and off, whatever you want to say. And Maddie and Cassie are best friends. So just, again, all of these decisions doesn't make any sense. But I know that Cassie is really hurting right now and she doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know who she is. She's having an identity crisis of what happened after the abortion in season 1 and who she thought she would end up with, which would be McKay. And like McKay's not really doing anything for Cassie in this case. And their relationship's also really weird. But Nate and Cassie just chaos, just straight up chaos. What happens in that car? He's drinking, he's pushing the gas. She's like halfway out the window and just, the tension's great, don't get me wrong. I just hate that it's Nate. I hate that it's Nate. So we see that they're making eyes at each other, really intense scene, and then it cuts to Maddie at this party banging on the bathroom door while the people in the bathroom who are choosing not to open the door is actually freaking Cassie and Nathaniel, because they're hooking up in there. I do have to say that Sydney Sweeney gave a fantastic performance in this opening episode, because shit, I would be scared of Maddie as well in that case. So we have that entire scene in the bathroom. They don't know what to do. It is just a straight up mess, but Nate is really like sweet with Cassie versus how he was with Maddie in season 1. So I'm kind of interested to see the contrast between the two relationships. Not that I think that Nate deserves any form of relationship whatsoever, but I want to see how this kind of goes, because it's a different connection entirely. And it's really weird that they, again, would even do that to Maddie, but Cassie's hurting. She's really wounded right now. And obviously Nathaniel's the type of person who's going to take advantage of her, which is terrible. It's so bad. So moving forward, Cassie ends up getting into the bathtub to hide from Maddie because Maddie needs to go to the bathroom. And Nate said that he was the only one in there. So bada bing, bada boom, she has to go hide in there. Stress level as Maddie gets in there, she does her business. This other guy, Travis, comes in with a joint and they're just chilling in there for however amount of time. So that's that situation. Nate gets out of there, sees McKay, whole other freaking can of worms, because he just hooked up with his girl and no one knows any of this. So that whole situation with best friends versus best friends, different relationships, budding relationships, I think that is going to be one of the most interesting aspects of season 2. And I'm really excited to see where that goes. Personally, I think if I were McKay and I found out, that's going to be really emasculating for him to know that Nate kind of stole his girl, and someone's going to find out. Knowing what McKay went through when he got initiated into the football team and into the school, and he got attacked in that way, and he internalized everything. He internalized his emotions, and he just went cold, like stone cold. That's McKay. But I think this is enough to warrant a snap for this character, and I would love to see that from him, to just express his emotions in that way, because his father taught him not to. And I think this is going to be the line that Nate finally crosses, because even the conversation between Nate and McKay about Cassie, very vulgar terms that were used, and just it was really unsettling, because now it feels like Nate's really territorial of Cassie after like one encounter with her, and McKay doesn't give him the information that he wants enough to like kind of clock him. You don't even know. You don't know what Nate's thinking in the freaking messed up head of his. So that is going to be a really interesting dynamic moving forward. While that's happening, Rue is hiding from Jules. So Rue ends up seeing Jules. She's like, nah, I can't do this. She goes to Fez's car and lies down in the back seat because it is too much for her. And I completely understand that, considering what had happened between the two of them. So Rue sees this little pack down at the bottom in an Altoids container. She goes and opens it, and it was the heroin that girl Faye had left. Worst part of the episode, because even though they chose not to show it, she walked into that laundry room with Elliot even worse than we saw her before. And then she did the cocaine with Elliot in the laundry room, which was one of the most intense scenes out of this entire episode, was when she thought that her heart stopped, which it did. And we had to go through that with Rue, with Elliot, this guy that she just met, but he did stay and help her through it. It is just tension filled, and you're just sitting there like, but why? Like, you just want to shake Rue, like, why would you do this type of thing? So we have to watch her go through a completely different cycle of drug use that we're not going to like what we see. Just the integration of like that really low moment with Rue, and then just chaos outside, like going back and forth with that. Character dynamics that are presented and shifting throughout this first episode, really, really great work. And then afterwards, when Rue comes out of this this little episode that she has. She ends up having some weed outside, nice and chill, calming her down by the fire, and we get the Jules and Rue encounter that we were waiting for. I personally don't think that Rue and Jules are good together. I think that is one of the most toxic relationships I've ever seen on screen. And it comes down to Jules just straight up being honest with Rue and them having had like a healthy form of communication so they can both fully understand each other. So I think that's what the missing part of their relationship is. There's like zero communication. They're not talking about how they feel. They're not talking about their past, especially Jules and like for Rue, like I think Jules should really just fully open up to her. They're going to go forward with this, but I do not care for their relationship whatsoever. I don't like their situation. Yes, they did kiss at midnight. Didn't like that either. But it's beautifully shot, which is amazing. It's beautifully shot and I love that. So that's the takeaway, is that when you're going into these parties, it's like Levinson puts you in this trance and it takes you back into their world. Like it just sucks you in and you're in it and you're with these characters. Even if you don't connect with any of them, it's just like you are a fly in the wall in the situation and you know absolutely everything about everybody, and it's crazy and it's chaotic. And it's entertaining to watch with these subject matters because they touch upon so many things for high school students, and it's really important for these shows to exist. Yes, it's really rough to watch. It's unsettling and it does affect you while watching it. It's a very heavy series, but it's a necessity to show these things and to have them depicted on screen because it can help someone at the end. The connection and the relationship that I love the most that came out of this first episode is actually Lexi and Fez. Fez, you know, he has these dark aspects, but sometimes he doesn't want to talk about drugs. He wants to talk about, you know, life in general, like philosophical questions and about books and reading and all this other information, history. He wants to talk about that, but he doesn't have anyone to sit there and actually have these conversations with. So randomly, Lexi kind of entertains Fez at this party, stating these historical facts or just facts in general about reading or God. Like they're sitting there talking about these questions, and Fez takes a liking to Lexi because Lexi just doesn't see him as like Fez the drug dealer and just sees him as Fez. And I think that's really important moving forward, where Lexi's going to be this light for Fez, but Fez is also going to bring out that badass in Lexi. And I think they're really going to complement each other here. So I really love that relationship as well. Next, the moment we've all been waiting for since Nathaniel stepped into Maddie's freaking way and messed everything up for her, for freaking Jules, for like everyone on this damn show. Our boy Fez, our boy Fez, after midnight, literally just walks up to Nate, pours himself a drink, has one bottle in his hand, that red Solo cup in the other, and says, "Hey, Playboy, it's a brand new year." They start talking. And it's like, okay, we had that little moment between Fez and Lexi. So is it like we're done? You know, we don't have to worry about Fez killing Nate at all. So that's what we're thinking. But when Fez told Ashtray to go start that car, I was like, shit's about to go down, because why would he go start the car if he's not going to do anything? So I was standing up. A lot of us were at the edge of our seat. We're like, is he going to beat the living daylights out of Nathaniel? And he takes that bottle and just smashes it over Nate's head and just goes to town on him. He beat him to a pulp, and it was one of the most satisfying moments since Joffrey died in Game of Thrones. Like, it is just an amazing moment. You could hear cheers across like North America. Whoever's watching this, you could just hear it, that it was one of the best moments. Fez protected his family, and that is why this first episode dedicated to Fez is possibly one of my favorite episodes of Euphoria. So season 2 started off with a bang. Can't wait to see these character dynamics in the other episodes grow and evolve and change. I am really excited to see Zendaya's performance as Rue in this season. It's going to be insane. So if you guys enjoyed this review of season 2, episode 1 of Euphoria, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about this season so far. And you guys can always follow me over at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. I'll catch you guys next time. Keep watching movies.